Another day, another drunken pink elephant. Hey, you all. Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the north. More specifically, we are in Springfield, Illinois. We're on our way to St. Louis to enjoy the Trans World Convention, the haunted house trade show. But I decided was just my energy level was running a little low last night, so I decided not to go all the way to St. Louis. Decided to stop here in Springfield, Illinois, try to get a little bit of rest. Last night, I don't know how much rest I actually got, but we're continuing on. We're gonna be heading to St. Louis today, but I figured we'd enjoy a little time here in Springfield, Illinois first. Of course, starting with our friend, the giant pink drunken elephant wearing glasses. See, I think it was in Kentucky that we saw our last giant pink elephant. That one was actually wearing glasses too. It had sunglasses. So I don't know where this trend necessarily comes from. What this one does have is it's like a, what is that, a martini? Drinking a martini. A little early to start drinking there, elephant, but you know, you do what you need to do as a pink elephant. Of course, drinking alcohol, it is what creates pink elephants. You know, you drink a bunch of alcohol and then suddenly you're involved in a pink elephant nightmare. But before we start today's adventuring, let's grab a little lunch here at my favorite place to eat in Springfield, Illinois. Yes, here at the Cozy Drive-In, home of the Cozy Dog. You can see the two hot dogs there, engaged in a loving embrace. And you see on the sign it says, "Better than corn dogs." Now they say that the Cozy Dog was actually created before the corn dog, and they do not refer to them as corn dogs here. They refer to them as cozy dogs, and they claim that they are far superior to your standard corn dog. Yes, an absolute classic diner here on Route 66. Let's get something to eat. Down here they actually have the two little hot dog lovers there for sale. You can buy them for $13 for the two of them. Oh, look at this here. Got a little VW bus there, driven by a hot dog lady with a surfboard. And then a biker wiener there. Alright, so I got myself a cheeseburger there, as well as a Cozy Dog. I don't think I've ever actually had the Cozy Dog before. Supposedly it's different than a corn dog, so we're going to give this a try. Let's add a little bit of ketchup. Mix that ketchup with a little bit of mustard there. Got the Cozy Dog there. A little bit of ketchup and mustard on it. That is a super good corn dog. I'm not necessarily a huge corn dog fan, but it's definitely, I mean, it's just super fresh tasting. You know, you don't have that. Much better than a frozen corn dog, that's for sure. But yeah, look how light and fluffy that breading is. That's like the perfect corn dog. Well, I think you're not supposed to call them corn dogs. They're Cozy Dogs. Then we have that classic diner style cheeseburger. You can see how flat it is. Yeah, good stuff here. And an important note, we are 1,382 miles from the Jackrabbit Trading Post. So we stopped off here in downtown Springfield, Illinois. And today I wanted to visit the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum. Of course, Springfield, the home of Lincoln. Of course, Lincoln, born in Kentucky, grew up in Indiana, moved here to Springfield, Illinois, before ascending to be the presidency. And a lot of people say, they say Lincoln, possibly America's greatest president. Some strongly disagree, but a lot of people think Abraham Lincoln the best president. But I can tell you one thing, he does have the best presidential library and museum. This is an amazing, amazing attraction, and it's quite breathtaking. So I definitely wanted to stop in while we were here in Springfield, since we're having a layover here in Springfield. I wanted to come back by and check out the Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum. Across the street here from the museum, have a statue of Abraham Lincoln. Of course, Abraham Lincoln, the most statued person in America. Has some quotes from his inaugural address there as he reaches a hand out, and I'll reach my hand, can't quite reach his hand up there. Of course, this is Springfield, so their Lincoln statue game is strong. You can see another sitting Lincoln here. You can actually see that other Lincoln statue over there. I thought they weren't supposed to have it where you could see two Lincolns at once, you know, kind of like at the Disney parks. They make sure that you can never see two Mickeys at the same time. You see Lincoln actually pulling some notes out of his hat like a magician. That's actually his first inaugural address written on those papers. Oh, love your hat there. Always love the hat. You wanna try on my hat? Oh, that's even better. I don't know, what do you guys like better? The original stovepipe hat or Lincoln Bagger? But without further ado, let's head inside the museum. And as we enter, we are greeted by the Lincoln family. We have Abraham right there, of course. We have his wife, Mary Todd, and then their sons, Robert, Tad, and William. And as you can see here, this museum at its heart is a wax museum. They have these beautiful wax figures throughout the museum. You can just see the level of detail there. I mean, look at Mary Todd there. It's a very, very high level of wax figure here. Just look at Abe. That's incredible. Love the wax figures here. You can see them sitting here, standing out, greeting guests to the White House. And this is one interesting little Easter egg here. You can see there is a nameplate on the ground there, and they somewhat covered it up, but it says John Wilkes Booth, the man that assassinated Lincoln. And you can see there was actually a figure here. You can see where he was affixed to the floor. So originally they had John Wilkes Booth creeping around a corner on the White House, leering at the Lincoln family, but it was removed, I think, after just a couple years, because it was really creepy, like, in all honesty, to have John Wilkes Booth leering around the corner of the White House at the Lincoln family. You can see, so when you came in, you'd see the Lincoln family, and then in the distance you would see John Wilkes Booth glaring at them from the White House. Kind of a timeline here. Lincoln born in a cabin in Kentucky. They move to Indiana, where Lincoln grows up. I actually hadn't heard about this before. In 1818, Abe is kicked in the head by a horse and is apparently killed for a time. So saying that Lincoln was, oh, there it is right there. Lincoln was kicked in the head, dies, is resurrected, and becomes president. As we prepare to enter the log cabin, we see a young Lincoln there. reading Aesop's fables, becoming learned and educated as he sits here and ponders Aesop's fables, dreaming one day of being president. They have a scavenger hunt that you're welcome to take along with you and find certain things. It says, during Abe's life, many people had to grow their own food. What vegetables do you see in his Indiana cabin? But the one here's most interesting is shoes protect our feet, and our shoes for every day or special days. What kind of footwear did Abraham Lincoln have in his office? Either he had a boot, flip-flops, or a green Croc. I own that same color of Croc there. Heading into Lincoln's Indiana boyhood cabin here. Oh, you can see the one-room cabin here. You can see everyone's piled up asleep in the bed except for young Lincoln sitting here reading by the fire, a real bookworm, that Lincoln. Oh yeah, you can see there's a bed there on the floor. It's the whole family curled up for a nice sleepy evening. But Lincoln, he could not let the fall of the sun stop him from reading his books. You see his dog there. They're actually piping in snoring noises. I don't know if you can hear the family snores. And this is a little unusual. You see these hams hanging up to cure. But look at that. There's like from the second floor, there's an arm hanging down. That's kind of spooky. Careful, careful, Abe. So we step out of the cabin and see Abe beginning his journey out into the world on the mighty Mississippi. Now, it talks about how Lincoln sailed down the Mississippi River to deliver goods to the city of New Orleans. And when he reached New Orleans, he saw a slave auction going on, and it said that that would leave an impression on him. I know Lincoln's views on slavery and race evolved over time, but it says that the first inkling he got that slavery was horrible was in New Orleans. And man, this is a absolute striking scene. Look at the auctioneer there, the pure evil in his face, the glowing red lights. As you can see, a family literally being torn apart. You can see the female there being dragged off by one person with a child pulling on her skirt. The husband there being dragged off by another person. Family completely ripped apart by the cruelty of slavery. And just look at the face of the slave purchaser there. Oh my gosh. Just like demonic looks in their faces. Here we enter Lincoln's shop. Here, he was a store owner for a time. You can see him selling these fine linens to this lady. She's also got a basket of apples. I don't know if she's maybe just purchased those apples or is trading them for the fabric there. You can see Lincoln selling those axes. He loves splitting rails, from what I understand. It says that Lincoln had 2 relationships before meeting Mary Todd. One died, the other dumped him. But here it shows him when he first met Mary Todd as they begin to fall in love. Here's the actual gravestone of Lincoln's son, Edward. It says that he died, he was 3 years, 10 months, and 18 days old. And the reason this is here and not, in a cemetery is that when Lincoln died, he actually disinterred Edward to be buried with his father, so they no longer needed this gravestone. So we step into Lincoln's law office here. See old Abe kicking back, reading a newspaper after a hard day's work. He's even taken off his shoes, but we see his children absolutely destroying the place, completely running amok. We can see one of his children there chucking a jar of ink, the other child smacking the ink with a broom, actually playing ink baseball here in Lincoln's office. You can see the ink spattered all over the place here. Complete destruction. This poor Lincoln, his legal papers being destroyed. You can see ink everywhere. These children have no regard for the importance of his law work. And you know what? To his credit, he said, I'm not going to worry about it. Kids, go ahead, play ink baseball. I'm just going to read my newspaper. And here we have the great debates between Stephen A. Douglas and Abraham Lincoln. They're both running for a Senate seat and had a series of debates that actually garnered national attention, with Lincoln arguing that slavery should be phased out, while Douglas argued for states' rights. And Douglas would win the election and actually beat Lincoln for the Senate seat, but these debates actually made Lincoln famous, made him a national figure, and directly led to him being elected as president. Here we have a modern newsroom covering the campaign of 1860. Them talking about the 1860 election.
And the strategies behind their ads. The Lincoln campaign has largely bypassed the South in the belief that if Lincoln carries enough northern states, he can win in the Electoral College and take the White House without a single Southern vote. Reassuring promise.
You can see here, this is journalist Tim Russert. Actually passed away in 2008, so they've dedicated this room to the memory of journalist Tim Russert. Here we have Lincoln's farewell address to Springfield before he left for Washington, D.C. to be president. You can see people fighting here, trying to get a view of Lincoln leaving on the train. There we go, there we go. Headed off to Washington. And now it is time to take a look at Lincoln's time in the White House as we enter the White House here. Enjoying some tea out on the front porch, we have Ulysses S. Grant and George McClellan. And over on this side of the White House, we have civil rights leaders, Sojourner Truth, and Frederick Douglass. A lot of people do credit Frederick Douglass with helping Lincoln evolve his views on slavery and race. As we enter the White House here, we see Mary Todd Lincoln and her collection of gowns. See, there's actually a dressmaker behind her helping get her in this massive dress. See Fort Sumter there. The war begins, the Civil War, that is. As we head into this hallway of political cartoons, you can see the strange way the frames bend and twist as people blame Lincoln for the war, criticizing his handling of the war. Look at this hallway here. It's like something out of Alice in Wonderland, or even Beetlejuice. Kind of gives me a Beetlejuice vibe as well. All these strange political cartoons. This one here making fun of his sizable height. Lincoln portrayed as a dog running away from D.C. There we see Abraham Lincoln as the devil carrying away Lady Liberty. Yikes. See Lincoln pulling off his Lincoln mask and revealing that he is indeed the devil himself. Here's Lincoln as a vampire sucking the life out of America. Abe Lincoln as an ogre stomping all over America's rights. By the way, Lincoln's life, super sad. Here he actually is in the middle of a presidential ball. You can hear the music coming from the other room, but another one of his children, Willie, has fallen very, very sick and will eventually die. So became the president, but in the process lost 2 of his young children. Very sad. This is a character from the Lincoln Extended Universe I was not familiar with. See Jack the doll there in Lincoln's hand. It was Willie's favorite doll. He never wanted to be separated from it. Here's Lincoln bringing it to him while he is sick, dying in bed. Said that Lincoln actually gave Jack a presidential pardon because Willie said he needed it because he had was a soldier who had fallen asleep at his post. Here we see Mary Todd in mourning, and wow, yeah, you know, you do hear sometimes people make light of the mental illness she suffered in life, but yeah, she went through a remarkable amount of tragedy, losing her 2 sons here, and you know, more tragedy. You know, spoilers, but much more tragedy is on the way. Here we see Lincoln's cabinet, and apparently this scene depicts when Lincoln first announced that he would be giving the Emancipation Proclamation, which would be free the slaves in the Confederate States. Apparently there was a lot of consternation. A lot of people were not sure this was a major change that would definitely change the course of American history. Most of them supported it, but they did have a lot of fears on how it would become executed. There's a very touching Easter egg and callback here as you look over to Lincoln's desk, and you can see Jack the doll, his dead son's doll, on his desk. And the Emancipation Proclamation goes public, and people are freaking out. It says it goes too far. It doesn't go far enough. Don't sign it. You can see the critics here shouting at Lincoln as we go through this hallway.
I would like to see the North win, but that's a very interesting thing. The neighbors supporting the Emancipation Proclamation. I, along with many other officers in the army, washed my hands of it. I came out to fight for the... Let's win the war, sir. Let's win it for the sake. Just what started.
And there he goes, signing the proclamation right here and freeing the slaves in the Confederate States. Here we can see the aging and haggling of Lincoln over the course of his presidency. You can see the fresh-faced Lincoln there as his face becomes more grizzled and torn in just a few years. Here, of course, are 2 famous life casts of Lincoln. This was in 1860, the year he began his presidency, and then this was taken shortly before his death, and kind of shows off how tired and weary he was. Now, this is an interesting artifact here. It said that Lincoln visited Richmond, Virginia during the war after Virginia had been taken by the Union. It says while visiting troops, he would actually pick this axe up and split a few pieces of wood, and then of course they would save this as Lincoln's last axe. And Lincoln wins. The war is over. Next we head into this is gonna be bad. You can see President there taking in a play at Ford's Theater after the war is over. Just a quiet night out with his wife. But of course, we all know the end. And we see right here, John Wilkes Booth sneaking in the back door where he would take out the president. Yeah, you can see how weary his face looks at this point. Although one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is the other couple that joined Lincoln that night. This is Henry Rathbone, and he took it really hard. That he was unable to protect the president during the assassination, and later he would become very mentally ill. He would attack his family. he would murder his wife here and attempt to end his own life, but ended up spending the rest of his life after that in an asylum. And here we are at Lincoln's funeral. This is actually very, very intense and emotional. You see the casket laying right there. There we have Mary Todd's mourning veil that she wore to Lincoln's funeral. Man, that woman experienced more loss in her life than anyone should have to. And of course, we exit through the gift shop. Let's talk about these tubes that you get in museum gift shops. A lot of times they'll be full of animals or dinosaurs. This one's full of presidential busts. A bunch of president heads in there. You can get a t-shirt with hipster Lincoln on it there. See some pins there and some chapstick. This is actually a presidential strawberry shortcake flavored. It's got Lincoln on it. Of course, ladies dig the beard. It's actually true. He was told by a young girl to grow the beard, and it helped him win the presidency. And is that Ziggy Stardust Lincoln? We even got Super Lincoln. I have a little nutcracker Lincoln there with the Gettysburg Address. 407 years ago. Oh, got a little bobbly Lincoln. There we go. Got a collection of Lincoln snow globes there. So I absolutely love this museum as far as like museum design, the ability to artistically tell a story. I can't think of a museum that does it much better than the Abraham Lincoln Museum. Just an absolute beautiful, beautiful museum. Love the wax figures, love just how the story's told, just amazing. And I figured while we're in Springfield, we'll pay a visit to the man himself. And here we are, Oak Ridge Cemetery, in front of the tomb of Abraham Lincoln. You see just the massive tomb there. I don't know if I've seen a tomb quite so massive in my days. So when Lincoln was assassinated, the United States government initially wanted to place him in a tomb underneath the U.S. Capitol building, but Mary Todd wanted him to be buried here in Springfield. So they transported his body here to Springfield, actually drove the body all over the country for people to mourn, and then on a train. And then eventually landed here in Springfield, where it was put in a temporary burial spot. They actually ended up moving his body around quite a bit in preparation for placing him in this tomb. I think the tomb took about 10 years to build. And there were actually, when the tomb was originally built, there was, they uncovered a plot. Someone was plotting to steal Lincoln's body to hold it for ransom. And because of this, when they originally put his body in the tomb, they would actually periodically move his body to different locations within the tomb to thwart any future attempts at kidnapping his body. You can see the tomb there and the giant bust of Lincoln in front. This is carved by Gutzon Borglum, the same sculptor that created Mount Rushmore. You can see his nose there. His gold, the patina rubbed off from people rubbing Lincoln's nose for good luck. I actually think that was something they did in his lifetime. I think he would ask children to rub his nose for luck. So I could use a little luck right now, honest Abe. So I think we can go inside. Don't know if there's no one here. Oh. Oh. As we walk around this way. There's little statues along the way here in the tomb. All these different interesting statues of Lincoln. This one's called Lincoln the Circuit Rider. It says the original version of this statue is in Lincoln Park, Chicago. They have a free zoo there. And there he lies. It says that he's actually buried 10 feet underground in a crypt under this monument. That was, like I mentioned, they worry that someone would try to take his body, so they entombed it in a way that could never possibly be unentombed, or at least not easily. But yeah, there's the marker that marks where Abe Lincoln is down there. Then behind us, entombed in the wall, is Lincoln's family. There's Mary Todd Lincoln is behind this. She died in 1882. There's Edward and William, Eddie and Willie. These are the two children that Lincoln lost while he was still alive. And then his son Thomas, that died after he was already deceased, Thomas Tad Lincoln. And then his fourth son, Robert Lincoln, not buried here. He's actually buried in the National Cemetery in Arlington. And this is a little confusing. Look at the engraving there. Did he die in 1843 or 1844? It looks like it was changed at some point. Yeah, if you look up that really carefully, there's a 4 and a 3 there. So yeah, it looks like a lot of these statues in here, these miniature statues, are miniature versions of larger statues out in the wild. It says the original is at Hogganville, Kentucky, where he was born. The larger version of this statue is in Lincoln, Nebraska. And the original of this one is in Urbana, Illinois. Now it does appear they used to be able to go on top of the monument here, but it looks like it is at least closed at the moment. I'm not sure, maybe, maybe there's things that could be damaged from people walking up there, but yeah, not 100% sure why that is closed. So thank you for joining me here today as our tour around the home of Abraham Lincoln, Springfield, Illinois. I'm going to get in my car now and drive the rest of the way to St. Louis. Hopefully get a little bit of rest tonight. Hopefully I can get in a little earlier and get some rest, because we got Trans World coming up. Of course, Trans World, the haunted house trade show that I try to attend every year. And thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for following along with my journeys. If you'd like to support the channel, consider donating to Patreon. $3 or more will get you a postcard once a month from me to you. Also selling enamel pins in the Etsy shop. All that helps go to keep this train on the track, this boat in the water, and this dirigible in the air. Until next time, my friends, this one's in the bag.